Hey everybody, this is the introduction to the 3 volumes of the Sage Handbook of Frankfurt School of Critical Theory. This book is dedicated to Moishe Pistone. It says, In Memoriam, Moishe Pistone. Moishe Pistone died on the 19th of March 2018. Words fail to express the sadness felt and the loss encountered. Amidst the misery of a time made abstract, a time of value for valorization's sake, Moishe showed us what it means to think against the grain. He was ein guter Mensch. And these are the chapters of the book. This is the table of contents. Volume 1, Key Texts and Contributions to a Critical Theory of Society. 1. Introduction, Key Texts and Contributions to a Critical Theory of Society by Beverly Best, Werner Bonefeld, and Chris O'Kane. Part 1 of Volume 1 is titled The Frankfurt School in Critical Theory. Chapter 2 is titled Max Horkheimer and the Early Model of Critical Theory by John Abromeit. Chapter 3 is titled Leo Löwenthal, Last Man Standing by Christoph Hesse. Chapter 4 is titled Erich Fromm, Psychoanalysis and the Fear of Freedom by Kieran Durkin. Chapter 5 is titled Henryk Grossmann, A Theory of Accumulation and Breakdown. Chapter 6 is titled Franz L. Neumann's Behemoth, a materialist voice in the Gesamtgestalt of Fascist Studies by Karsten Olson. Chapter 7 is titled Otto Kirchheimer, Capitalist State, Political Parties, and Political Justice by Frank Schale, Lisa Klingsporn, and Hubertus Buchstein. Chapter 8 is titled The Image of Benjamin by David Kaufmann. Chapter 9 is titled Dialectic of Enlightenment, Philosophical Fragments by Marcel Stutzler. Chapter 10 is titled Herbert Marcuse, A Critical Theory as Radical Socialism by Charles Reitz. Chapter 11, which is on this channel already, is titled Theodor W. Adorno and Negative Dialectics by Nico Bobka and Dirk Braunstein. Part 2 is titled Theoretical Elaborations of a Critical Social Theory. Chapter 12 is titled Ernst Bloch, The Principle of Hope by Kat Moir. Chapter 13 is titled Georg Lukács and Actually Existing Antinomy by Erich John Russell. Chapter 14 is titled Siegfried Krakauer, Documentary Realist and Critic of Ideological, quote, Homelessness. Chapter 15 is titled Alfred Seidel and the Nihilization of Nihilism, a Contribution to the Prehistory of the Frankfurt School by Christian Fowler. Chapter 16 is titled, I can't remember how to say his name, Arkady Gerland, Political Science as Critical Theory by Hubertus Buchstein. Chapter 17 is titled Alfred Sohn-Rethel, Real Abstraction and the Unity of Commodity Form and Thought Form by Frank Engster and Oliver Schlaut. Chapter 18 is titled Alfred Schmidt on the Critique of Social Nature by Hermann Kosiba, which should be on this channel already. Chapter 19 is titled Oscar Knecht and Alexander Kluge, From the Underestimated Subject to the Political Constitution of Commonwealth by Richard Langston. Chapter 20 is titled Hans-Jürgen Kroll, Social Constitution and Class Struggle by Jordi Meso. Chapter 21 is titled Johannes Agnoli, Subversive Thought, The Critique of State and Post-Fascism by Stefan Grigat, which is on this channel. Chapter 22 is titled Helmut Reichelt and the New Reading of Marx by Ingo Elba. Chapter 23 is titled Hans-Georg Bachhaus, The Critique of Premonetary Theories of Value and the Perverted Forms of Economic Reality by Riccardo Bellifiori and Tommaso Rodolfi Riva. Chapter 24 is titled Jürgen Habermas, Against Obstacles to Public Debates by Christoph Henning. Part 3 of Book 1 is titled Critical Reception and Further Developments. Chapter 25 is titled Gillian Rose, The Melancholy Science by Andrew Brower Latz. Chapter 26 is titled Bolivar Echeverria, Critical Discourse in Capitalist Modernity by Andres Sanz de Silesia. Chapter 27 is titled Adolfo Sanchez Vasquez, Philosophy of Praxis as Critical Theory by Stefan Gondler. Chapter 28 is titled Roberto Schwartz, Mimesis Beyond Realism by Nicholas Brown. Chapter 29 is titled Aborted and/or Completed Modernization, Introducing Paulo Orantes. Chapter 30 is titled Frederick Jameson by Carolyn Lesjak. Chapter 31 is titled Moish Pistone, Marx's Critique of Political Economy as Imminent Social Critique by Elena Louisa Lange. Chapter 32 is titled John Holloway, The Theory of Interstitial Revolution by Anna Cecilia Dinnerstein. Chapter 33 is titled Radical Political or Neoliberal Imaginary, Nancy Fraser Revisited by Claudia Lieb. Chapter 34 is titled Axel Honneth and Critical Theory by Michael J. Thompson. Volume 2 is titled Themes, and the chapters are Introduction, Themes in the Context of the 20th Century by Beverly Best, Werner Bonefeld, and Chris O'Kane. Part 4 of the 3 volumes is titled State, Economy, Society. Chapter 36 is titled Society as, quote, Totality on the Negative Dialectical Presentation of Capitalist Socialization by Lars Heitmann. Lars Heitmann is part of a pretty cool project called Society Without Money or something like that. Chapter 37 is titled Society and Violence. Chapter 38 is titled Society and History. Chapter 39 is titled Totality and Technological Form by Samir Gandesha. Chapter 40 is titled Materialism by Sebastian Truskowski. Chapter 41 is titled Theology and Materialism, Julia Jopp and Ansgar Martens. Chapter 42 is titled Social Constitution and Class by Tom Hauseman. Chapter 43 is titled Critical Theory and Utopian Thought by Alexander Neupert Doppler. Chapter 44 is titled Praxis, Nature, Labor by Stefan Gondler. Chapter 45 is titled Critical Theory and Epistemological and Social-Economical Critique by Frank Engster. Chapter 46 is titled Critical Theory and the Critique of Political Economy, From Critical Political Economy to the Critique of Political Economy by Patrick Murray. Chapter 47 is titled The Critique of Value and the Crisis of Capitalist Society by Josh Robinson. Chapter 48 is titled Frankfurt School and Fascism by Lars Fischer. Which might be on this channel. Chapter 49 is titled Society and Political Form by Alexander Neupert Doppler. Chapter 50 is titled The Administered World by Hans Ernst Schiller. Chapter 51 is titled Commodity Form and Form of Law by Andreas Harms. Chapter 52 is titled Walter Benjamin's Concept of Law by Amy Swiffen. Swiffen. Chapter 53 is titled Security and Police by Mark Neocleos. Chapter 54 is titled On the Authoritarian Personality by James Murphy. Chapter 55 is titled Anti-Semitism and the Critique of Capitalism by Lars Fischer. Chapter 56 is titled Race and Politics of Recognition by Christopher Chem. Chapter 57 is titled Society, Regression, Psychoanalysis, or, quote, Capitalism is responsible for your problems with your girlfriend, end quote. On the use of psychoanalysis in the work of the Frankfurt School by Benjamin Y. Fong and Scott Jenkins. Part 5 is titled Culture and Aesthetics. Chapter 58 is titled The Culture Industry by Christian Lotz. Chapter 59 is titled Erzi Hung, The Critical Theory of Education and Counter-Education by Matthew Charles. Chapter 60 is titled Aesthetics and Its Critique. The Frankfurt Aesthetic Paradigm by Johann Hartl. Chapter 61 is titled Rather No Art Than Socialist Realism, Adorno, Beckett, and Brecht by Isabella Clausen. I don't know how to say their name. Chapter 62 is titled Adorno's Brecht, The Other Origin of Negative Dialectics by Matthias Rothe. Chapter 63 is titled Critical Theory and Literary Theory by Matthias Nogus. Chapter 64 is titled Cinema, Spectacle, Modernity. Chapter 65 is titled On Music and Dissonance, Hinge by Murray Dineen. Chapter 66 is titled Art, Technology, and Repetition by Marina Vishmit. And chapter 67 is titled On Ideology, Aesthetics, and Critique. Volume 3 of the book is titled Context. We have another introduction. Introductions, Context of Critical Theory. Beverly, Best, Werner, Bonefeld, and Chris O'Kane. Part 6 of the book is titled Context of the Emergence of Critical Theory. Chapter 69 is titled Marxism, and Critical Theory by Jan Hoff, whose book Marx Worldwide is a tremendous achievement. Chapter 70 is titled The Frankfurt School and Council Communism by Felix Baum. Chapter 71 is titled Positivism, and it's by Anders Ramsay. Chapter 72 is titled Critical Theory and the Sociology of Knowledge, Diverging Cultures of Reflexivity by Oliver Schlaut. Chapter 73 is titled Critical Theory and Weberian Sociology by Klaus Lichtblau. Chapter 74 is titled Critical Theory and the Philosophy of Language by Philip Hough. H-O-G-H, Hough. Chapter 75 is titled Psychoanalysis and Critical Theory by Inara Louisa Marin. Chapter 76 is titled Humanism and Anthropology from Walter Benjamin to Erlich Zonemann by Dennis Johansson. Chapter 77 is titled Art and Revolution by Jasper Burns, it's American. Jasper Burns. Part 7. Context of the later development of critical theory. Chapter 78 is titled The Spectacle and the Culture Industry, The Transcendence of Art and the Autonomy of Art, Some Parallels Between Theodore Adorno's and Guy Debord's Critical Concepts by Anselm Joppa. Chapter 79, Workerism and Critical Theory, Vincent Chanson and Frédéric Montferrand. Chapter 80 is titled Open Marxism and Critical Theory, Negative Critique and Class as Critical Concept by Christos Mamos. I have a couple of books by Christos Mamos on the channel. He's fantastic. Chapter 81 is titled Post-Marxism by Christian Lotz. Chapter 82 is titled Critical Theory and Cultural Studies by Tom Bunyard. Chapter 83 is titled Constellations of Critical Theory and Feminist Critique by Gudrun Alexei Knapp. Chapter 84 is titled Critical Theory and Recognition by Richard Gunn and Adrian Vilding. Chapter 85 is titled, quote, Ideas with Broken Wings, and quote, Critical Theory and Post-Colonial Theory by Asha Varadharajan. Part 8 of the book is titled Elements of Critical Theory and Contemporary Social and Political Movements and Theories. Chapter 86 is titled Biopolitics as Critical Diagnosis by Frieder Fogelmann. Chapter 87 is titled Critical International Relations Theory by Shannon Brinkott. Chapter 88 is titled Space Form and Urbanity by Grieg Charnock. Chapter 89 is titled Critical Theory and the Critique of Anti-Imperialism by Marcel Stutzler. Chapter 90 is titled Mass Culture and the Internet by Nick Dyer Witherford. Chapter 91 is titled Environmentalism and the Domination of Nature by Michelle Yates. Chapter 52 is titled Feminist Critical Theory and the Problem of Counter-Enlightenment in the Decay of Capitalist Patriarchy by Roswitha Schultz. Chapter 93 is titled Gender and Social Reproduction by Amy DeAth. Chapter 94 is titled Rackets by Gerhard Scheidt. Chapter 95 is titled Subsumption and Crisis by Joshua Clover. Chapter 96 is titled Figure of Crisis in Critical Theory by Amy Chun Kim. Chapter 97 is titled Neoliberalism, Critical Theory as Natural History by Charles Prusick. Chapter 98 is titled On Emancipation by Sergio Tischler Visquera and Alfonso Galileo Garcia Vela. And Chapter 99 is titled Crisis and Immiseration, Critical Theory Today by Aaron Benenev and John Clegg. Okay. So notes on the edition, editors, and contributors. Editors. Beverly Best is an associate professor in the Department of Sociology and Anthropology, Concordia University, Montreal. Beverly Best is the author of the books Marx and the Dynamic of the Capital Formation and Aesthetics of Political Economy, published in 2010. Best has published articles on ideology and the value form, value and fetish character of finance, Marx and the Aesthetic, the dialectic of affect, and dialectical method in the work of Frederick Jameson and Raymond Williams. Beverly Best's current research project is a study of the perceptual economy of capital as elaborated by Marx in Volume 3 of Capital. She is vice president of the Marxist Literary Group, www.marxistliterary.org. Werner Bonefeld is a professor of the Department of Politics, University of York. Recent book publications have included the book The Strong State and the Free Economy, published in 2007. The book Notes from Tomorrow on Reason, Negation, and Certainty, published with Akar Books in 2015. The book Critical Theory and the Critique of Political Economy, published in 2014. And with Chris O'Kane, he co-edits the book series Critical Theory and the Critique of Society. Recent journal articles have included work on Adorno and the Critique of Economic Objectivity, Abstract Labor, Authoritarian Liberalism, German Ordoliberalism, and on the Political Theology of European Monetary Union. Werner Bonefeld's work contributed to the development of open Marxism. Werner Bonefeld is a co-founder of the, I can't remember what it's called, Conference of Socialist Economists, Trans-Pennine Working Group. Chris O'Kane teaches philosophy, politics, and economics at SUNY John Jay. O'Kane's recent and forthcoming articles and chapters in Viewpoint, Black Box, Historical Materialisms, Perspectives on Henri Lefebvre, Logos, Capital and Class, Review of Radical Political Economy, Constellations in the Sage Handbook of Marxism focus on Marxian and post-Habermasian critical theory, political economy, and the critical theory of contemporary society. He is currently revising his thesis on social constitution and social domination in Marx, Hegelian Marxism and value form theory for publication with Brill, and he is editing the selected works of Alfred Sohn-Rethel for the historical materialism book series, and with Werner Bonefeld he co-edits the book series Critical Theory and the Critique of Society. The contributors. John Abromeit is an associate professor of history at the State University of New York, Buffalo State, where he teaches courses on modern German and French history and modern European intellectual history and historiography. He's the co-editor of Herbert Marcuse, A Critical Reader, published in 2004, Herbert Marcuse, Heideggerian Marxism, published in 2005, The Transformation of Populism in Europe and the Americas, History and Recent Tendencies, published in 2016. Abromeit is the author of Max Horkheimer and the Foundations of the Frankfurt School, published in 2011. His articles and reviews have appeared in Constellations, Theory and Society, Theory, Culture and Society, Radical Philosophy, the Journal of Modern History, and the American Historical Review. Felix Baum lives in Berlin and is active in a very marginal political milieu influenced by the Frankfurt School and Council Communism, amongst others. He occasionally writes for Brooklyn Rail and tiny German publications. Riccardo Bellifiore is professor of political economy at the University of Bergamo. Riccardo Bellifiore teaches history of economic thought and monetary economics in Italian and macroeconomics and international monetary economics in English. He is a member of the International Symposium on Marxian Theory and of the editorial committee of the Marx-Engels Complete Works in Italian. Riccardo Bellifiore is editor with Tommaso Rodolfi Riva of Ricerche sulla critica marxiana dell'economia, an Italian collection of the most important articles by Hans-Georg Bauhaus. Aaron Benenev is a collegiate assistant professor and affiliate faculty in the history department at the University of Chicago. Benenev's book, forthcoming with Verso, is titled A Global History of Unemployment Since 1949. He also edits the journal Endnotes along with several others in Europe and the United States. Jasper Burns is author of a scholarly book titled The Work of Art in the Age of Deindustrialization and 2 volumes of poetry, Stars Down and We Are Nothing, and So Can You. Together with Juliana Spar and Joshua Clover, he edits Commune Editions. He teaches at the San Francisco Art Institute and lives in Berkeley with his family. Nico Bobka lives in Frankfurt. He is currently pursuing a dissertation project on Theodor W. Adorno's dialectical critique of ontology and the so-called ontological need at the Free University of Berlin. Dirk Braunstein is scientific assistant at the Institute for Social Research in Frankfurt, where he is researching the work and teachings of Adorno. Dirk Braunstein's book is on this Adorno and the Critique of Political Economy is on this channel. Shannon Brincott is a senior lecturer at the University of the Sunshine Coast, Australia. His research focuses on international relations theory, recognition and cosmopolitanism, dialectics, tyrannicide, climate change justice, and critical theory. He has been the editor of a number of collections, and most recently, the book From International Relations to World Civilizations, The Contributions of Robert W. Cox, published in 2017, and Dialectics and World Politics, published in 2015, and the 3-volume series Communism in the 21st Century, published in 2013. He's also the co-founder and co-editor of the journal Global Discourse. Andrew Brower-Latz is the head of religion and philosophy at the Manchester Grammar School and the author of the book The Social Philosophy of Gillian Rose, published in 2018. He co-edited with Marcus Pound the Telos special issue on Gillian Rose in 2015, and with Arseny Ermakov the book Purity. His other publications include the article Ideology Critique via Jurisprudence, Against Rose's Critique of Roman Law and Kant, and published with Thesis 11 in 2016. The article Gillian Rose and Social Theory, published in Telos in 2015. The article Towards a Rosian Political Theology of Recognition in the book Misrecognitions, Gillian Rose and the Task of Political Theology, edited by Joshua Davis. The article Andrew Shank's Civil Theology, published in Political Theology 2012. And the article Creation in the Fiction of Marilyn Robinson, published in 2011. Nicholas Brown teaches in the departments of English and African American Studies at the University of Illinois at Chicago. Hubertus Buchstein is a professor for political theory and the history of political ideas at the Greifswald University, Germany. His research interests primarily center around democratic theory, the history of political science as a discipline, and critical theory. He's the author of books about public and secret voting, about modern democratic theory, about the use of lotteries in political decision-making, about right-wing extremism in Germany, and about German academic emigres in the U.S. during the period of Nazi dictatorship. From 2009 to 2012, Hubertus Buchstein was president of the German Political Science Association. In the academic year 2018-2019, he will be Theodor Heuss Professor at the New School for Social Research in New York. He is currently working on a 6-volume edition of the Gesammelte Schriften of Otto Kirchheimer. Tom Bunyard teaches in the Humanities Department at the University of Brighton. He has recently completed a work on Guy Debord's relation to Marx and Hegel and is currently working on issues related to the philosophy of history. Vincent Chanson is a PhD student, or Vincent Chanson is a PhD student of philosophy at Nanterre University. His work's interest and focus on critical theory, critical Marxism, and aesthetics. With Frédéric Montferrand and Alexis Couquier, he co-edited La Réification, Histoire et Actualité d'un concept critique, I don't know, in the journal Law Dispute. Matthew Charles is a senior lecturer in cultural and critical theory at the University of Westminster in London. He is a member of the Institute for Modern and Contemporary Culture, and he was part of the editorial collective of the Journal of Radical Philosophy from 2009 to 2017. His research focuses on critical theories of modern and contemporary culture and education. He's the author of the book Modernization. What the hell's going on here? Sorry, 1 second. My computer's being a fucking clown. God damn it. What the fuck? I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to fucking stop for a second. Jesus Christ, I'm so sorry about that. Sorry about that. Jesus Christ. Hopefully my computer won't shit the bed again. So, Matthew Charles is a senior lecturer in culture and critical theory at the University of Westminster in London. Matthew Charles is a member of the Institute for Modern and Contemporary Culture and was part of the editorial collective of the journal Radical Philosophy from 2009 to 2017. His research focuses on critical theories of modern and contemporary culture and education. He is the author of the book Modernism Between Benjamin and Goethe, forthcoming with Bloomsbury, probably is already out by now, co-author with Peter Osborne of the Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy entry on Benjamin, and has contributed to special issues on Benjamin and education in the journal Boundary 2 and the journal Pedagogy, Culture, and Society. Greg, it's probably Greg. I don't know why. It's just spelled weird to me. Or it's looking weird on the page. It's probably how Greg is always spelled. Greig. Anyway, Greg Chernock is a senior lecturer in International Relations at the University of Manchester, where he teaches international political economy, the politics of globalization, and critical social theory. His most recent research has engaged the quote open Marxism approach with critical theories of the production of space and analyses of crisis formation and management in Spain. He is co-author of the book The Limits to Capital in Spain, published in 2014, co-editor of The New International Division of Labor, published in 2016, and has published articles in such journals as Antipode, Society and Space, the International Journal of Urban and Regional Research, Historical Materialism, New Political Economy, and South Atlantic Quarterly. He is a member of the editorial board of the Journal of the Conference of Socialist Economists, Capital and Class. Christopher Chen is an assistant professor of literature at the University of California at Santa Cruz. Christopher Chen has published poetry, essays, interviews, and reviews in the journal Boundary 2, the South Atlantic Quarterly, the Routledge Companion to Literature and Economics, the New Inquiry, Crayon, 1913, A Journal of Forms, and the Los Angeles Review of Books. He is completing a book-length comparative study of contemporary Black and Asian American experimental writing. One second. Sorry, 1 second. I wanted to copy that down. Companion to Literature and Economics. Sorry, this is annoying. John Clegg is a PhD candidate at NYU Sociology and is an editor of the journal Endnotes, along with several others in Europe and the United States. Joshua Clover is a professor of English literature and comparative literature at the University of California, Davis. Clover is the author of 6 books, including the book Riot, Strike, Riot, A New Era of Uprisings, published in 2016. He has collaborated with Juliana Spar, Jasper Burns, Tim Kreiner, Christopher Chen, Wendy Trevino, Abigail Lang, Else Moores, Chris Nealon, Michael Zalay, Sarah Posman, Annie McClanahan, and others. He is founding editor of the journal Commune Editions. Amy D'Ath is lecturer in contemporary literature and culture at King's College London. Her criticism has appeared in the journal Women, A Cultural Review, Anguish Language, Metamute, and elsewhere. With Fred Waugh, she is editor of a poetics anthology titled Toward Some Air. Published in 2015. And her most recent poetry publication is On My Love for Gender Abolition, published in 2016. She is currently at work on an academic book, Unsociable Poetry, Antagonism and Abstraction in Contemporary Feminized Poetics. Murray Deneen has been a member of the School of Music at the University of Ottawa since 1991, where he currently teaches music theory, history, and aesthetics. His research interests address both disciplinary music topics, such as the history of music theory and the study of counterpoint, as well as interdisciplinary matters involving music, primarily criticism and literary theory, but also human kinetics and musical expertise. In 2011, he published a book on Adorno music titled Friendly Reminders, Essays in Music Criticism After Adorno. His most recent publications include a translation of a Marxist treatise on music published in Vienna in 1935, in the journal Polygraph, an international journal of culture and politics. in 2016. He has received research funds from the Social Science and Research Council of Canada, an honorary lifetime member of the Canadian University Music Society. He has edited Canadian and international journals devoted to music studies. Anna Cecilia Dinnerstein is Associate Professor of Sociology in the Department of Social and Policy Sciences, University of Bath. She has written extensively for academic and non-academic audiences on issues of labor subjectivity, urban, rural, and indigenous movements, autonomous organizing, Argentine and Latin American politics, open Marxism, decolonial theory, social reproduction, and the current use of utopia, and Ernst Bloch's philosophy of hope. She was editor of the journal Capital and Class from 2000 to 2005, and is a member of the editorial board of Work, Employment, and Society, which I guess is a journal, and the scientific advisory board of the journal Revista Sociologia del Trabajo in Madrid. Anna Cecilia Dinnerstein is research partner of the Transnational Institute, quote, New Politics Project, unquote, 2016 to 2020, and creator and convener of the International Research Network's, quote, Labor in Transition, LAT, or I guess it's LAT2net, LAT, Roman numerals 2 net, and Women on the Verge. Her main publications include The Labor Debate, published in 2002, which has been translated into Turkish in 2006 and Spanish in 2009, The Politics of Autonomy in Latin America, The Art of Organizing Hope, published in 2015, in Social Sciences for and Other Politics, Women Theorizing Without Parachutes, published in 2016. Kieran Durkin is a Marie Sklodowska-Curie Global Fellow at the University of York, UK, and University of California, Santa Barbara, undertaking the first comprehensive study of the Marxist-humanist tradition. His wider research interests center around the exploration of the possibility of resurrecting a robust radical humanism for contemporary social theory and practice. The first manifestation of this research program was his monograph titled The Radical Humanism of Erich Fromm, published in 2014, which was shortlisted for the British Sociological Association's Philip Abrams Memorial Prize in 2015. Kieran Durkin has also written the first dedicated study of the intellectual relationship between Erich Fromm and Theodor W. Adorno. Nick Dyer Whitford, an associate professor in the Faculty of Information and Media Studies at the University of Western Ontario, is the author of Cybermarks, Cycles and Circuits of Struggle in High Technology Capitalism, published in 1999, and Cyberproletariat, Global Labor in the Digital Vortex, published in 2015. Nick Dyer Whitford also writes on the video and computer game industry, the uses of the internet by social movements and theories of technology. Ingo Elba studied philosophy, history, and social psychology at the Ruhr-Universität Bochum and obtained his doctorate in 2008 at the Free University of Berlin for a thesis on the reception of the work of Karl Marx in the Federal Republic. From 2007 to 2012, he was a lecturer at the Institute of Social Sciences at the Technical University of Braunschweig, and from 2011 to 2014 at the Institute of Applied Sciences, Dusseldorf. In 2015, he completed his habilitation at the Institute of Philosophy of the Karl von Ossietzky University, Oldenburg, with a thesis on paradigms of anonymous rule. Elbo is a visiting professor at the Department of Political Sciences in Gießen University in the winter semester 2017-2018. He is a lecturer and research assistant at the Institute of Philosophy of the Karl von Ossietzky University, Oldenburg, and chairman of the Bochum Nonprofit Association Institute of Social Theory. Book publications include Marx im Westen, Die neue Marx-Lektur in der Bundesrepublik, published in 2008, and Paradigmen anonymer, Herrschaft, Politische Philosophie von Hobbes bis Arendt, published in 2015. I have a lot of pieces by Elbow on this channel. I believe I have his contribution from this book on this channel. Frank Inkster wrote his PhD thesis on the subject of time, money, and measure. Inkster's areas of interest lie in the different readings of Marx's critique of political economy, the logic and history of money, and the connection between money measurement and time, and natural science. Lars Fischer is an honorary research associate in the UCL Department of Hebrew and Jewish Studies. Lars Fischer has taught at King's College London, UCL, and Cambridge. He served as Counselor of the Royal Historical Society from 2012 to 2015 and as Secretary of the British Association for Jewish Studies from 2010 to 2012. Fischer's publications include a monograph on the socialist response to anti-Semitism in Imperial Germany, published in 2007, and a short study on the nexus between anti-Semitism and racism, which is titled, quote, A Difference in the Texture of Prejudice, end quote. Historische Konzeptuelle Überlegungen zum Verhältnis von Antisemitismus, Rassismus and Gemeinschaft. He edits the website of the Critical Theories of Anti-Semitism Network and is founding editor of the H Commons Network, H Music. He lives in Berlin. Benjamin Y. Fong is an honorary faculty fellow at Barrett, the Honors College of Arizona State University, a director of the Society for Psychoanalytic Inquiry, and author of the book Death and Mastery, Psychoanalytic Drive Theory and the Subject of Late Capitalism. Samir Gandesha is an associate professor in the Department of the Humanities and the director of the Institute for the Humanities at Simon Fraser University. He specializes in modern European thought and culture, and with a particular emphasis on the 19th and 20th centuries. Samir Gandesha's work has appeared in the journals Political Theory, New German Critique, Constellations, Logos, Kant Studien, Philosophy and Social Criticism, Topia, The European Legacy, The European Journal of Social Theory, Art Papers, The Cambridge Companion to Adorno and Herbert Marcuse, A Critical Reader, as well as in several other edited books. Samir Gandesha is co-editor with Lars Rensman of Arendt and Adorno, Political and Philosophical Investigations, published in 2012. I have pieces by Lars Rensman on the channel. Samir Gandesha is co-editor with Johann Hartla of the 2017 books Spell of Capital, Reification and Spectacle, and Aesthetic Marx. Stefan Gondler received his Doctor of Philosophy from Goethe Universität Frankfurt in 1997. He is professor of social theory and philosophy at the Universidad Nacional Autónoma de Mexico. Universidad Autónoma de Querétaro. Stefan Gondler has been an invited professor at Goethe Universität 2001 to 2002, University of California, Santa Cruz 2009 to 2010, Tulane University, New Orleans 2015 to 2016. Is also a member of Sistema Nacional de Investigadores, Mexico, highest category 3. He is the author of Peripherer Marxismus, Frankfurter Fragmenta, El discreto encanto de la modernidad, Fragmentos de Frankfurt, Materialismus und Messianismus, Marxismo Crítico in Mexico, and Critical Marxism in Mexico, published in 2016 with Brill. Of academic articles in 7 languages and 15 countries, and the editor of Modernidad y Diferencia, published in 2010, and Teoría Crítica Imposible Resignarse, 2016. Stefan Gondler works on the possibility of overcoming the Eurocentric limitations of the Frankfurt School, confronting its critical theory of society with contemporary socio-theoretical debates in Latin America, constructing a critical theory from the Americas. Stefan Griga is a lecturer at the Institute for Political Science, the Institute for Philosophy, and the Institute for Jewish Studies at the University of Vienna. He's a 2017 to 18 research and teaching fellow at the Center for German Studies at the Hebrew University of Jerusalem, and was the 2016 to 2017 visiting professor for Israel Studies at the Moses Mendelssohn Center for European and Jewish Studies at the University of Potsdam. the 2015-16 visiting professor for critical theory at the Justus Liebig University of Gießen, and the 2007-2017 academic and executive director for the NGO Stop the Bomb, Coalition for a Nuclear-Free and Democratic Iran. Gurat received his PhD in 2006 from the Free University of Berlin. He is the author of Die Einigkeit Israels, Zionismus, die israelische Linke und die iranische Bedrohung, published in 2014, and Fetisch und Freiheit, über die Rezeption der Marxischen Fetischkritik, die Emanzipation von Staat und Kapital und die Kritik des Antisemitismus, published with Sa-Ira in 2007. He is the editor of AfD and FPÖ, Antisemitismus, Völkischer Nationalismus und Geschlechterbilder, published in 2017, and the book Iran, Israel, Deutschland, Antisemitismus, Außenhandel und Atomprogramm, published in 2017. Richard Gunn lectured on political theory at the University of Edinburgh from 1975 to 2011. He currently writes and researches on an independent basis. His personal website, richardgunn.com, contains papers dating from the 1980s to the present. Andreas Harms works as a lawyer in Berlin and has dealt extensively with legal theory and Marxist legal criticism. Johann Hartler teaches political aesthetics at the University of Arts and Design, Karlsruhe, and art theory at the China Academy of Arts, Hangzhou. He has held research fellowships at the University of Amsterdam, the Hebrew University, Jerusalem, the Università Roma III, and he has taught at the Rietveld Academy, Amsterdam, the Academy of Fine Arts, Munster, Westphalia, I don't know how to say that, and several other art schools. His publications include Der geöffnete Raum zur Politik der ästhetischen Form, published in 2006, Data Lenin, published in 2013, edited with Rainer Ganal, as well as the book The Spell of Capital, Reification and Spectacle, published in 2017, and Aesthetic Marx, 2017, both edited with Samir Gandesha. Hartel's fields of research are Marxist aesthetics and cultural theory, the history of Red Vienna, Otto Neurath, and Frankfurt School Critical Theory, Adorno Benjamin, Knecht Kluge, the Aesthetico-Political, Rancière, and questions of contemporary political ontology, Spinoza. Lars Heitmann studied politics and sociology at the University of Bremen. His publications include Absoluter Wert und Allgemeiner Wille zur Selbstbegründung dialektischer Gesellschaftstheorie, and as editor, along with Hanno Paul, Kognitiver Kapitalismus, Soziologische Beiträge zur Theorie der Wissensökonomie, published in 2007, and Gesellschaftstheorie der Geldwirtschaft, Soziologische Beiträge. Lars Heitmann was a scientific collaborator on the interdisciplinary study on the meaning of security at the Leibniz University of Hanover, and associate lecturer at the universities of Bremen, Hanover, and Bielefeld. He currently contributes to the interdisciplinary project Society After Money, published at the University of Bonn. Christoph Henning is a junior fellow at the Max Weber Center for Advanced Cultural and Social Studies at the University of Erfurt. His latest books include Philosophy After Marx, 100 Years of Misreadings and the Normative Turn in I think it's probably supposed to be Political Philosophy, 2014, Theories of Alienation, The Political Philosophy of Perfectionism, published in 2015 in German, and Marx und der Folgen, published in 2017. He has edited several volumes on political philosophy and related topics. the most recent with Hartmut Rosa being The Good Life Beyond Growth, published in 2017. Christoph Hesse, research assistant in media and communication studies at the Free University of Berlin, formerly lecturer in film studies at the University of Mainz, and visiting scholar at the School of Visual Arts in New York, is currently working on an edition of the correspondence between George Grosch and Hermann Burkhardt. He is the author of Comprehensive Study of German Exile Cinema in the Soviet Union in the 30s and 40s, Filmexil Soviet Union, published in 2017, co-author of a textbook on the history of film styles, titled Film Style, published in 2016, with Oliver Kreutzer, Roman Maurer, and Gregory Moore, and co-edited a 3-volume anthology of letters to Brecht in exile, Briefe on Bertolt Brecht in Exile, published in 2014 with Hermann Hartmann. Since 2014, he is also a member of the editorial board of the Journal for Critical Social Theory and Philosophy, Zeitschrift für kritische Sozialtheorie und Philosophie der Größe. Jan Hoff is a historian and political scientist from Germany. Jan Hoff received his PhD at the Free University of Berlin in 2009 and his habilitation at the University of Kassel in 2016. His books include Marx Global, about the international reception of Marxist critique of political economy, and Befreiung heute, about the history and present of theories of emancipation inspired by Marx. He has taught at the universities of Innsbruck, Austria, and Kassel, Germany, and Munich. Philip Hoch, I don't know how to say this guy's name. Philip Ho studied philosophy, modern history, and political science in Freiburg, Basel, and Durham. He wrote his doctoral thesis on Adorno's philosophy of language at Goethe University, Frankfurt. Since 2011, he has been a research assistant since 2013 as a postdoc at Karl von Ossietzky University, Oldenburg, where he's a member of the Adorno Research Center. Tom Hauserman is senior lecturer in political economy at the School of Social Sciences, Leeds Beckett University, UK. Tom Hauserman completed his PhD on Adorno and the concept of poverty in 2011 at the University of Manchester and teaches critical theory, political economy, development, and decolonization. His research interests focus on Adorno and epistemology, especially concerning positivism and the politics of measurement in international development. Owen Hulat is a lecturer at the University of York's Department of Philosophy. His research interests include Adorno, Spinoza, aesthetics, and social theory. He's the author of Adorno's Theory of Philosophical and Aesthetic Truth, published in 2016. Anselm Japa is the author of La Société Autophage, Capitalisme. Oh, no, this is in French. La Société Autophage, Capitalisme, des mesures et autodestruction, published in 2017. Guy Debord, published at PM Press in 2018, originally in 1999, which is on this channel. Les Adventures de la Marchandise pour une nouvelle critique de la valeur, which I think is Adventures of the Commodity. L'Avant-Garde, Inacceptable Reflections sur Guy Debord, published in 2004. Crédit à Mort, I don't know if I'm saying that right. Translated as The Writing on the Wall in 2017. Anselm Japa has contributed to the German reviews Crisis and Exit, founded by Robert Kurtz, which developed the, quote, critique of value, end quote. Anselm Japa teaches in the fine arts schools of society and has been visiting professor in various European and Latin American universities. He also lectured at the Collège International de Philosophie. Scott Jenkins is a director of the Society of Psychoanalytic Inquiry. He holds a BA from Reed College and lives in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Dennis Johansson is visiting assistant professor of German studies at Brown University. He studied cultural studies, German literature, and philosophy at Leuphana University, Lüneburg, and at the University of California, Berkeley, and he completed his PhD in German Studies at Brown in 2017. Dennis Johansson published articles in the Frankfurt School, Heidegger, Leibniz, and Philosophical Anthropology. Is currently working on a book about rhetoric, transgenerational trauma in 20th century German literature and film. Julia Jopp lives in Berlin. Her research focuses on materialist epistemology, especially the concept of validity in Hegel-Marx critical theory and the so-called new reading of Marx. David Kaufmann is a graduate of Princeton and Yale Universities, is professor of English at George Mason University. He's the author of the books The Business of Common Life, published in 1995, Telling Stories, the later works of Philip Guston, published in 2010, and Reading Uncreative Writing, published in 2017. He has published a number of articles in the Frankfurt School of Literary Theory and Contemporary Poetry, as well as a full century of reviews and features on everything from Bugs Bunny and Alan Sherman to contemporary utopianism and books about dogs. He lives with his family in the suburbs of Washington, D.C. Sami Khatib taught at Freie Universität Berlin, Jan van Eyck Akademie Maastricht, American University of Beirut, and Akademie der Bildenden Künste Vienna. He's a founding member of Beirut University of Critical Theory and Research, BICAR. Currently, he is a postdoctoral researcher at Leuphana Universität Lüneburg. He is author of the book Teleologie ohne Endweg, Walter Benjamins Entstellung des Messianischen, published in 2013. Amy Chun Kim is a postdoctoral fellow in the Society of Humanities and History of Art at Cornell University. She holds a JD from Yale Law School and PhD in the History of Art from the University of California, Berkeley. Amy Chun Kim has published essays on abstract art in the interwar period and the problem of constitutional democracy and critical theory. Her book, Ideologies of Pure Abstraction, Modernism Between Paris and Moscow, is forthcoming from Verso. She is also working on a new project, The Nomos of Urban Space. Isabella Klasem lives in Mulheim an der Ruhr. She studied philosophy, German philology, and sociology at the Ruhr Universität in Bochum and works in the fields of aesthetics and critical theory. Isabella Klasem also is an artist and co-founder of the art society Zeitgenossenschaft. Currently, she works as a teacher and as a lecturer at the Ruhr Universität and the Hochschule für Bildende Künste in Essen. Lisa Klingsporn works as a researcher as the chair for political theory and history of ideas at Greifswald University, Germany. Her field of interest centers around critical theory and the relation of politics and law, as well as feminist theory, especially the work of Judith Butler. Her dissertation is concerned with the reception of Otto Kirchheimer's work in the U.S. and Germany. In this regard, she is currently studying the method of reception theory as an instrument to analyze political thought. Gudrun Axeli Knapp was professor of sociology and social psychology at the Institute of Sociology and Social Psychology, Leibniz University of Hanover. From 1999 until 2009, she was the director of the interdisciplinary program in gender studies at the Faculty of Philosophy. She has published articles on feminist issues in various journals and books, has edited and co-authored several books on the developments in international feminist theory, recently with a focus on social theory and interlocking structures of inequality and dominance. Hermann Kosiba is a senior researcher at the Institute for Social Research and lecturer at the Department of Social Science of Goethe University in Frankfurt. Hermann Kosiba's dissertation on the problem of contradiction in Marx's critique of political economy, Widerspruch und Theoriestructure der Darstellungsmethode im Marxischen Kapital, was supervised by Alfred Schmidt. It was Schmidt, too, who encouraged him to engage in the debate about Althusser, Lévi-Strauss, Lacan, Foucault, and Deleuze. As a result, however, Kossiba, unlike Schmidt, felt fascinated by the possibility to read them not as antagonists of critical theory, but as sources of a renewal of critical thinking. His actual theoretical work is focused on the conflict between economy and democracy. His empirical research is focused on labor relations, working conditions, and democracy deficits within European institutions, especially within the European Central Bank. Elena Louisa Lange has studied philosophy and Japanese studies in Hamburg and Zurich, where she received her PhD in 2011. She now works as Senior Research Associate and Senior Lecturer at the Institute for Asian and Oriental Studies, University of Zurich. Since 2009, she has taught classes on intellectual history, Japanese philosophy, Marxism, and modernity. She has co-edited books on modern Japanese philosophy, Begriff und Bild der modernen japanischen Philosophie in 2014, and the book Concepts of Philosophy in Asia and the Islamic World, Volume 1, China and Japan, 2018, published articles on recent debates in Marxian value theory, and is currently working on a critical study of the Japanese Marxist Uno Kozo. She regularly gives lectures and conducts workshops on Marx's Capital. Richard Langston is an associate professor of German literature at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill and author of the book Visions of Violence, German Avant-Gardes After Fascism, published in 2007. A co-editor of the Alexander Klug Jahrbuch, published in 2014. The leading translator of Kluge and Neck's book History and Obstinacy, published in 2014. The editor of Difference and Orientation, an Alexander Kluge reader, published in 2018. And the author of a forthcoming monograph on Neck and Kluge entitled Dark Matter, In Defiance of Catastrophic Modernity, published with Verso. Claudia Lieb is an assistant professor in political theory at Washington State University. She is author of the book The Politics of Repressed Guilt, The Tragedy of Austrian Silence, published in 2018. Power and Feminist Agency and Capitalism Toward a New Theory of the Political Subject, published in 2017. Working Class Women in Elite Academia, A Philosophical Inquiry, published in 2004. And Die Zerstörung des Mythos von der friedfertigen Frau, published in 1998. Claudia Lieb has articles published in Political Theory, Contemporary Political Theory, Theory and Event, Perspectives on Politics, Constellation, Social Philosophy Today, The Good Society, Philosophy and Social Criticism, and Radical Philosophy Review. She's also contributed several book chapters to anthologies on early Frankfurt School critical theory. Carolyn Lesjak is Associate Professor of English at Simon Fraser University and is the author of the book Working Fictions, A Genealogy of the Victorian Novel, published in 2006. Currently, she is completing a book on the material basis of character in Victorian literature and culture and its relationship to the notion of the commons. Klaus Lichtblau. Since 2004, Klaus Lichtblau has been a full professor in the Department of Sociology, Goethe University in Frankfurt. Klaus Lichtblau is author of Theorie der Bürgerlichen Gesellschaft, published in 1978, Kulturkrise und Soziologie die Jahrhundertwende, published in 1996, Georg Simmel, published in 1997, Das Zeitalter der Entweihung, 1999, Die Eigenart der Kultur und Sozialwissenschaft, Sozialwissenschaftlichen Begriffsbildung and zwischen Klassik und Moderne. At present, he is working on a book about the different versions of Max Weber's sociology. Christian Lotz is professor of philosophy at Michigan State University. His main research area is post-Kantian European philosophy. His book publications include the book The Art of Gerhard Richter, Hermeneutics, Images, Meaning, published in 2015/17. The Capitalist Schema, Time, Money, and the Culture of Abstraction, published in 2014/16. Christian Lotz zu Marx, Das Maschinenfragment, 2014. Ding und Verdinglichung, Technik und Soziophilosophie nach Heidegger und der kritischen Theorie, edited by H. Friesen, J. Meyer, and M. Wolf. The book From Affectivity to Subjectivity, Husserl's Phenomenology Revisited, and published in 2008, and vom Leib zum Selbst, Kritische Analysen zu Husserl und Heidegger, published in 2005. Christian Lotz's current research interests are in classical German phenomenology, critical theory, Marxism, aesthetics, and contemporary European political philosophy. His website is christianlotz.com. Jordi Meso teaches philosophy at Complutense University of Madrid. He studied at the University of Salamanca, where he received his doctorate with a thesis on Adorno. Meso has been research grant holder at the University of Salamanca, the Free University of Berlin, and the Center for Research of Anti-Semitism at the Technical University of Berlin, and he has worked for several years at the Institute of Philosophy of the Spanish National Research Council, CSIC. Jordi Meso's main interests are critical theory, critique of political economy, and analysis and critique of modern capitalist society, mainly focusing on issues such as the culture industry today, anti-Semitism and the politics of resentment, and the social constitution of subjectivity. He is a member of the editorial board of the Review of Constellaciones, Revista de Teoría Crítica, and a founding member of the Sociedad de Estudios de Teoría Crítica. Enara Luisa Marin received her PhD in philosophy and psychology at the University of Paris, Diderot, Paris 7, with a dissertation on psychoanalysis and critical theory from Erich Fromm to Axel Honneth. She has clinical experience both in private practice and in public institutions, including the clinics at La Maison de Santé d'Épinay and the Association Intem. In her postdoctoral research at the Brazilian Center for Analysis and Planning, CEBRAP, she addressed the possibility of actualizing the relations between psychoanalysis and critical theory through the concepts of anxiety and autonomy. Enara Luisa Marin currently works as a psychoanalytic clinician, as a researcher, developing intersections among critical theory, psychoanalysis, and feminist theories, and also as an associate professor at the philosophy department of the State University of Campinas. Ansgar Martens is a graduate student working on the philosophy of Siegfried Kracauer at Frankfurt University. His research focuses on critical theory, philosophy of religion, 20th century Jewish intellectual history, and Western esotericism. Among his publications is a monograph on Adorno's Jewish sources, Adorno und die Kabbalah, 2016. Ansgar Martens is also a co-editor of Der Schein des Lichts, Der ins Gefängnis selber fällt, Religion, Metaphysik, Kritische Theorie, published in 2018. Paul Mattick is the author of the book Social Knowledge, published in 1985, Art in Its Time, published in 2003, and Theory as Critique, Essays on Capital, published in 2018, among other writings. Christos Memos is a lecturer in sociology in the Department of Sociology, Abertay University, Dundee. His research interests include critical social and political theory, political sociology and economic sociology / critical Political Economy. He's the author of Castoriadis and Critical Theory, Crisis Critique and Radical Alternatives, published in 2014, which is on this channel. Kat Moir is a lecturer in Germanic Studies at the University of Sydney. She is an intellectual historian specializing in the history of ideas in the German-speaking world in the 19th and 20th centuries. Kat Moir's research is particularly concerned with how ideas shape and are shaped by political histories and ideologies. She is currently completing her first book, Ernst Bloch's Speculative Materialism, Ontology, Epistemology, and Politics, 1934 to 1939, which explores the intersection between politics and metaphysics in Bloch's philosophy. Johannes von Moltke is a professor of German studies and screen arts and cultures at the University of Michigan, where he teaches film, cultural studies, and critical theory. He is the author of No Place Like Home, Locations of Heimat in German Cinema, 2005, and The Curious Humanist, Siegfried Kracauer in America, 2015. Other publications include Siegfried Kracauer's American Writings, edited with Christy Ralston, 2012, Culture in the Anteroom, The Legacies of Siegfried Kracauer, edited with Gert Gemunden, 2012, and Siegfried Kracauer's Grenzgänge zur Rettung des Realen, edited with Sabine Biebel and Helmut Letten, 2018. Frédéric Montferrand holds a PhD in philosophy from Nanterre University. His research interests focus on critical theory, critical Marxism, and social ontology. With Vincent Chanson and Alexis Coquier, he is co-editor of Les Réifications, Histoire et Actualité d'un concept critique. James Murphy is currently writing his dissertation in the philosophy department at DePaul University and teaching at as a clinical instructor of business ethics for the Department of Management at Loyola University. James Murphy's research focuses on German idealism, Marxism, early modern political theory, psychoanalysis, and fascism, and his other published work takes up the problem of violence and Frantz Fanon and the libidinal underpinnings of self-identity in Locke's social contract theory. Patrick Murray is professor of philosophy of Creighton University in Omaha, Nebraska. He is author of The Mismeasure of Wealth, Essays on Marx and Social Form, published in 2016, and Marxist Theory of Scientific Knowledge, published in 1988, and editor of Reflections on Commercial Life, an anthology of classic text from Plato to the present, published in 1997. Patrick Murray is working on the book Capital's Reach, How Capital Shapes and Subsumes, and with Gene Schuler, he is co-authoring False Moves, Basic Problems with Factoring Philosophy. Patrick Murray is a member of the International Symposium on Marxian Theory, ISMT. His research interests center on the relationship between capitalism and modern philosophy and include the British empiricists, Kant, Hegel, Marx, and the Frankfurt School. I don't know how to pronounce this guy's name properly. Mark Neocleus is professor of the Critique of Political Economy, Brunel University, and the author of numerous books, the most recent of which is the book The Universal Adversary, Security, Capital, and the, quote, Enemies of All Mankind, end quote. His work revolves around the mechanisms for managing capitalist modernity through the logic of, quote, police, quote, security, and, quote, war. The relationship between this logic and reactionary shifts in political order. This also involves the nature of the political imaginary, how the state has been imagined through categories associated with human subjectivity, how enemies have been imagined as monstrous, and how we imagine our political relationship with the dead. He is currently working on the idea of security as an autoimmune disease. Alexander Neupert Doppler studied philosophy, political science, and history at the University of Osnabrück, where he received his doctorate in 2013 for his work on the concept of, quote, state fetishism in neo-Marxist theories of the state. He's the author of the books Staatsfetischismus, 2013, and Utopie, or Utopia, I don't know how to say that word in German, Utopie, 2015, together with Lisa Doppler. He translated Herbert Marcuse's Paris lectures into German language and edited them with Peter Irvin Janssen under the title Kapitalismus und Opposition, published in 2017. Alexander Neupert Doppler is also the editor of Konkrete Utopien 2018. Neupert Doppler works as an education officer for the Socialist Youth of Germany / Falcons in Hanover. Mattia Nilgus is Associate Professor of English at St. Francis Xavier University. His essays have appeared in collected editions in journals such as American Literary History, Kalalu, Textual Practice, and Postmodern Culture. He co-edited the books Literary Materialisms, Marxism and the Critique of Value, The Contemporaneity of Modernism, and Literature in the Global Contemporary. He has completed a monograph titled Still Life with Citroman, The Time of the Contemporary American Novel. Pedro Rocha de Oliveira holds a PhD in philosophy from the Pontifical Catholic University of Rio de Janeiro. He is Associate Professor at the Philosophy Department of the Federal University of the State of Rio de Janeiro. His research interests include the critique of political economy, critical theory, the dialectics of capitalist development, early modernity, and critical criminology. Karsten Olson is a doctoral candidate at the University of Minnesota in the Department of German, Scandinavian, and Dutch. He's the author of Historical Sociology versus Ontology, The Role of Economy in Otto Kirchheimer and Carl Schmitt's essays, Legality and Legitimacy, published in the book History of the Human Sciences. And Karsten Olson's research interests include critical theory, 18th century moral and economic philosophy, democratic constitutional law, and surveillance and social control. His work in progress dissertation is a comparative study of figures of the crowd as they appear in philosophical and theatrical works of the 18th and 20th centuries. Charles Prusik received his PhD from Villanova University in 2017. His dissertation focuses on the critical theory of Theodor Adorno and the political economy of neoliberalism. His research specializes in the Frankfurt School as well as the history of economics and sociology. He has publications in the areas of political economy and aesthetic theory, and is an instructor of philosophy and ethics. Anders Ramsey was born in 1954 in Malmö. Anders Ramsey studied sociology, philosophy, and economic history at the University of Lund, where he completed his Doctor of Philosophy. And in 1987-8, he was a DAAD scholar at the J.W. Goethe University, Frankfurt. He has undertaken various teaching assignments in sociology since 1995, including at the University of Ebro and the University of Gothenburg, and he has been a senior lecturer in sociology at Mid-Sweden University since 2017. Charles Wrights, professor of social science and philosophy at Kansas Community College, retired, has published the book Philosophy and Critical Pedagogy, Insurrection and Commonwealth, published in 2016, Crisis and Commonwealth, Marcuse, Marx, McLaren, 2013, Art, Alienation, and the Humanities, A Critical Engagement with Herbert Marcuse, 2000. With Peter Irvin Janssen, Wrights has co-edited and published Herbert Marcuse's Paris Lectures, 1974, at Vincennes University, published in 2015. Wright studied at Canisius College, the University of Freiburg, and the State University of New York at Buffalo. He served for 5 years as president of his faculty association, and for 5 years as campus director of intercultural education. He is a charter member of the International Herbert Marcuse Society and served for 6 years in its board of directors. Tommaso Rodolfi Riva is an independent scholar. He graduated in philosophy at the University of Pisa and has a PhD in history of economic thought from the University of Florence. He won a grant from the University of Bergamo for research on the Italian debate between 1968 and 83 between philosophy and critique of political economy. He has published several articles on Marxisms, and the Neue Marx-Lektura. He is the editor with Riccardo Bellafiore of Ricerche sulla Critica Marxiana dell'Economia, an Italian collection of the most important works by Hans-Georg Backhaus. Josh Robinson teaches modern and contemporary poetry and literary and critical theory in the Cardiff University School of English, Communication and Philosophy, and is an affiliated professor of the University of Haifa. They co-edited Marxism and the Critique of Value and published in 2014, and Contemporary Marxist Theory, published in 2014. Their recent publications include the article Speculation Upon Speculation, or a Contribution to the Critique of Philosophical Economy, published in Credo, Credit Crisis, Speculations on Faith and Money, published in 2017, and Adorno's Poetics of Form, the book, in the Sunni series in Contemporary Continental Philosophy, published in 2018. Matthias Rothe is Associate Professor of German at the University of Minnesota. He works on critical theory, Brechtian and contemporary theater, and expanded aesthetics. His publications include the article The Temporality of Critique, Bertolt Brecht's Fragment, Jai Fleischhacker in Chicago, published in Brecht Yearbook, and the article Sohn-Rethel, das Theorie Kunstwerk, published in Merkur 70, and the book The Frankfurt School, Philosophy and Political Economy, published in I don't know. I can't see the date. And History of the Human Sciences, 29, volume 2. I'm not sure. I guess that's a Human Sciences being a History of Human Sciences being a journal he's published in. Sorry, 1 second. It's annoying. I just spaced out totally for a second. I forgot I was even recording. How embarrassing is that? Sorry about that. Erich John Russell is a doctoral candidate at the Center for Research in Modern European Philosophy in London. His dissertation examines the ways in which Hegel's Wesenlogic and Begriffslogic, together with Marx's critique of political economy, appeareth in Guy Debord's The Society of the Spectacle. Erich John Russell is founding editorial member of Cured Quail. Frank Schale is scientific assistant at the University for Political Science at Chemnitz University of Technology, Germany. He earned his doctorate with a thesis on Otto Kirchheimer. His research interests lie in the fields of intellectual history, the history of science in the 20th century, especially in social and legal theory. He is currently working on a comparative study of changing political theory and German Empire to post-war Germany. Gerhard Scheidt is an independent scholar who lives in Vienna. Scheidt has published widely on Marxism, critical theory, and anti-Semitism, with a special interest in theater studies and musicology. Inter alia, he edited 3 volumes of the collective works of Jean Amery, published by Klett-Cotta. Gerhard Scheidt co-edits the journal Sans Phrase, Zeitschrift for Ideology Critique. Hans Ernst Schiller studied philosophy, history, sociology, and German literature in Erlangen and Frankfurt. He has been professor for social philosophy and ethics at the University of Applied Studies in Dusseldorf since 1996. Hans Ernst Schiller published numerous articles and essays in the books Block Constellationen, Utopien der Philosophie, published in 1991, Unsichtbare Kette, Stationen kritischer Theorie, published in 1993, Die Sprache der realen Freiheit, Sprache und Sozialphilosophie bei Wilhelm von Humboldt, 1998, Das Individuum in Widerspruch, zur Theoriegeschichte des modernen Individualismus, published in 2005, Ethik in der Welt des Kapitals, zu den Grundbegriffen der Moral, and Freud Kritik von Links, Block from Horkheimer, Adorno, Marcuse, 2017. Schiller is the co-editor of Staat und Politik by Horkheimer und Adorno, 2014, and the editor of Staat und Politik by Ernst Bloch, 2016. Recently edited with Rüdiger Donnemann and Henry Pickford, Der aufrechte Gang im windschiefen Kapitalismus, Modelle kritischen Denkens, published in 2018. Oliver Schlatt is Associate Professor at the Philosophy Department, University of Heidelberg. His main research interests center upon the philosophy of the natural and the social sciences, with a special focus on measurement and quantification. Roswitha Schultz is a graduate of social pedagogy, FH. At university, she studied at the Faculty of Philosophy, focusing above all on sociology, pedagogy, and philosophy. She has published in numerous left magazines and anthologies. Her book publications include The Gender of Capitalism, Feminist Theory, and the Postmodern Metamorphosis of Patriarchy, published in 2000/2011. One second, let me write this down. No, let's see anything in English from this person. Anyway. Her book publications include The Gender of Capitalism, Feminist Theory, and the Postmodern Metamorphosis of Patriarchy, published in 2000/2011. Differences of the Crisis of Differences, New Social Criticism in the Global Age in the Context of, quote, Race, Class, Sex, and Postmodern Individualization, published in 2005. Her areas of work include feminist theory and radical social critique of form, intersectionality theories of knowledge, and the, quote, zeitgeist. Andreas Sanz de Sicilia is a visiting professor in philosophy at the University of Roehampton and Central St. Martin's, as well as tutor at University College London. He received his PhD from the Centre for Research in Modern European Philosophy, Kingston University, London, in 2016 for a thesis on the concept of consumption in Kant, Hegel, and Marx. He has written for the journals Radical Philosophy and Language Sciences and has a monograph on the topic of subsumption forthcoming with Brill in 2019. He has translated several essays by Bolivar Echeverria and is currently preparing the first English language collection of Echeverria's writings. Marcel Stutzler is senior lecturer in sociology at Bangor University. He works on social and political theory, intellectual history, and historical sociology. His publications include Beginning Classical Social Theory, published in 2017, the edited volume Anti-Semitism and the Constitution of Sociology, 2014, The State, the Nation, and the Jews, Liberalism and the Anti-Semitism Dispute in Bismarck's Germany, published in 2008. His work has been published in journals Sociological Inquiry, European Journal of Social Theory, Nations and Nationalism, Patterns of Prejudice, Sociology, Journal of Classical Sociology, European Review of History, Philosophy and Social Criticism, Historical Materialism, Feminist Theory, the European Journal of Women's Studies, Fast Capitalism, and the blogs Open Democracy and History and Policy. He is an editorial board member of the journal Patterns of Prejudice and fellow at the Center for Jewish Studies at the University of Manchester. Amy Swiffen, a faculty member in the Department of Sociology and Anthropology at Concordia University, Montreal. Michael J. Thompson is Associate Professor of Political Theory, William Patterson University. He was educated at Rutgers College, Humboldt Universitet, and the Graduate Center, City University of New York. His recent books include The Domestication of Critical Theory, published in 2016, The Palgrave Handbook of Critical Theory, 2017, as editor, Hegel's Metaphysics and the Philosophy of Politics, published in 2018, and the book The Perversion of Subjectivity, The Eclipse of Autonomy in Modern Society, published in 2018. Sebastian Trzaskowski is Associate Professor at the Department of Germanic Studies at Trinity College, Dublin. His articles on Adorno, Benjamin, Kafka, and related themes have appeared in journals such as German Life and Letters, Radical Philosophy and Studies in Social and Political Thought. Together with Jan Sieber, he edited Discontinuous Infinities, a special issue of the journal Anthropology and Materialism on the philosophy of Walter Benjamin. Together with Sam Dolbear and Esther Leslie, he edited and translated the book The Storyteller, a collection of Benjamin's experimental prose. Sorry, one second. Sorry. Just want to copy this down. Anyway. Back to the text. Together with Paula Schwebel, he is currently working on a translation of Adorno's Correspondence with Gershom Scholem, forthcoming. Asha Varadarajan is Associate Professor of English at Queen's University, Canada. She is the author of Exotic Parodies, Subjectivity in Adorno, Said, and Spivak, published in 1995. Her writings and public speaking engage the broad sweep of post-colonial, cosmopolitan, global secular rights, migration, and development debates. Her most recent essays have appeared in Cultural Studies, College Literature, Kuna Pipi, University of Toronto Quarterly, Topia, CSSAAME, and Modern Language Quarterly. She has contributed chapters to books on human rights, biopolitics, and intercultural discourse. The most fun she has had lately was writing her essay on Eric Idle for the Dictionary of Literary Biography. Alfonso Galileo Garcia Vela has a PhD in sociology and is a research professor at the Department of Postgraduate Studies on Sociology at the Institut de Ciencias Sociales y Humanidades Alfonso Vélez Pliego and the Benemérita Universidad Autónoma de Puebla. In 2017, he was a visiting scholar at the Department of History in the University of Chicago. With Massimo Modenesi, Maria Vignal Luria, he co-edited El Concepto de Clase Social in la Teoría Marxista Contemporánea, The Concept of the Social Class in Contemporary Marxist Theory, UNAM BUAP La Biblioteca 2017, and with Fernando Matamoros, Manuel Garza, and Eduardo Bautista Martinez, he co-edited a 10 años de la lucha de la Asamblea Popular de los Pueblos de Oaxaca. I can never remember how to pronounce that place's name. Part of Mexico. 10 years after the struggle of the Popular Assembly of the People of Oaxaca. Oh. Fuck it up. I think it might be Oaxaca. I'm not sure. His fields of research and teaching are sociology, theories of the state, and critical theory of the Frankfurt School, modernity theories, and Western Marxism. Marina Vishma is a writer. She is lecturer in culture industry at Goldsmith University of London and runs a theory seminar at the Dutch Art Institute. Her work has appeared in South Atlantic Quarterly, Ephemera, After All, Journey of Cultural Economy, Australian Feminist Studies, and Radical Philosophy, among others, as well as a number of edited volumes. She is the co-author of Reproducing Autonomy, published in 2016, and is currently completing the monograph Speculation as a Mode of Production. Sergio Tischler Visquera is a research professor at the Department of Postgraduate Studies on Sociology of the Instituto de Ciencias Sociales y Humanidades, the Benemérita Universidad Autónoma de Puebla. He coordinates the research group Subjectivity and Critical Theory with John Holloway. His books include Memoria, Tiempo y Sujeto, 2005, Tiempo y Emancipación, Michal Betin y Walter Benjamin, En la Selva Lacandona, 2008, Imagen y Dialéctica, Mario Payeras y los interiores de una constelación revolucionaria, 2009, and Revolución y Destotalización, 2013. He co-edited the books What is to be Done, Leninism, Anti-Leninist Marxism, The Question of Revolution Today. A lot of those texts are on this channel. I think Tischler's is on this channel as well. Marxismo Abierto, Una Visión Europea y Latinoamericana, Volumes 1 and 2, with John Holloway, Werner Bonefeld, and Alberto Bonet. Negativity and Revolution, Adorno and Political Activism, published in 2009, with John Holloway and Fernando Matamoros, and Zapatismo, Reflexión Teórica y Subjetividades Emergentes, published in 2008/2015 with John Holloway and Fernando Matamoros. Friedrich Vogelmann is postdoctoral research at the Institute for Intercultural and Interdisciplinary Studies at Bremen University. Vogelmann studied philosophy, mathematics, and cognitive science at the University of Freiburg before doing his PhD in philosophy at the University of Frankfurt. He's the author of the book The Spell of Responsibility, published in 2017, and co-editor of the book The Birth of Austerity, German Order Liberalism and Contemporary Neoliberalism, published in 2017. He's worked on the history of the concept of responsibility, on Michel Foucault, and the concept of critique and critical theory. Recent publications have appeared in the journals Constellations, Distinction, Deutsche Zeitschrift für Philosophie. His current work is focused on the effectiveness of knowledge and praxeological understanding of philosophy. Christian Fowler studied cultural studies, history, and literature in Frankfurt/Oder, Berlin, and Bochum. Currently, he is working on his PhD on figures of the autonomy of technology, working title Die Selbstständigkeit der Technik, ein Topos der Moderne. His research focuses on Marxist philosophy, the Frankfurt School, critical theory, and reactionary modernism. Since 2014, he has been a research associate at the Institute of Culture and Aesthetics of Digital Media at Leuphana University of Lüneburg. Adrian Wilding is a fellow of the Großbritannien Zentrum Humboldt Universität zu Berlin. He's written and translated widely in the field of critical theory. I think he has pieces in, like, for instance, I think he's part of, like, open Marxism. Michelle Yates is assistant professor of cultural studies and humanities in the Department of Humanities, History, and Social Sciences at Columbia College, Chicago. Michelle Yates received her PhD in cultural studies from the University of California, Davis. Her work is situated in the environmental humanities at the intersection of critical theory, film and media, and gender and sexuality. She has published in peer-reviewed journals such as Antipod and ISLE, Interdisciplinary Studies in Literature and Environment. She is also the co-director of the Chicago Feminist Film Festival. Jose A. Zamora is a tenured researcher at the Institute of Philosophy of the Spanish National Research Council, Madrid. He has directed numerous research projects, including the current social suffering and victim status, for which he is a principal researcher. He is president of the Ibero-American Society of Critical Theory Studies and is co-editor of Constelaciones, Revista de Teoría Crítica. His publications include, among others, Kreise, Kritik, Erinnerung, ein politischer theologischer Versuch über das Denken Adornos im Horizont der Krise der Moderne, 1995, and Theodore W. Adorno, Pensar contra la barbarie, 2004 and 2008. He is editor of Justica y Memoria, hacia una teoría de la justicia amnética, published in 2011, and Las Víctimas como precio necesario, published in 2016, among others. His areas of research are critical theory, philosophy after Auschwitz, social suffering, political theologies of modernity, and political philosophy of migrations. Acknowledgement. We are indebted to Neil Larson for involvement in the early stages of shaping the handbook and for his guidance and advice on the tradition of critical theory in Latin America and Wertkritik. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to cut this off here. Sorry for all these pauses. I'm spaced out.